Hello and welcome back to 10 Minutes with Ricky J. I'm your host, Ricky J. Thanks for bearing with us. It's been a minute since I recorded one of these. Obviously, life gets in the way, work gets busy, there are things to worry about and deal with. And some weeks we can only get out you know, the End Zone podcast, the flagship show, which, hey, I'm pretty proud that I'm able to do that consistently on a week to week basis. That's pretty good for an amateur podcaster. You're getting a lot of content in this feed. We're going to have a basketball show galore tomorrow. We're going to talk about the NCAA tournament and the NBA down the stretch a little bit more with Ethan and Aramis for sure. Hopefully, we get Audrey on there as well. Uh, Hockey show, gotta have one of those coming up soon. We'll work on that. And the draft show will be back Monday, even though I haven't done any film study yet. So a lot of Brian and RK for you. Um, Wanted to touch base really quickly here on the weekend and some things that were. This is going to be a college basketball heavy 10-minute program before I head out. So let's start with a little bit of random nonsense, as I like to do here. Going to see Shane Gillis tonight. A big fan of his comedy and his work. I know he's had some ups and downs, and there are some things that aren't so great. But I think in comedy, people take risks, and sometimes it doesn't end up working out for them, and people learn from mistakes and get better. And it's kind of funny. I would say my two favorite comics are probably Shane Gillis and Anthony Jeselnik. Now, I would never tell Anthony Jeselnik that because I know for a fact he's pretty highbrow. He likes to think of himself as somewhat of a maestro and an unending comedy genius, and he probably doesn't think as highly of Shane Gillis. But I mean, people have different tastes for different things, and Anthony Jeselnik can, he can believe what he wants, but I'm gonna be a fan of him and a fan of Shane Gillis, and it'll be fine. Fun fact: Greg Rosenthal, obviously, the podcast, the Jeselnik and Rosenthal Vanity Project, JRVP. Um, yeah, so maybe we'll talk to Greg about that if we can ever get him on this offseason. That is something I'm still actively trying to work on, going to try out this new spot in Salt Lake called El Cholo. Very excited for that. I think I'm going to get some seafood enchiladas now. That's probably a bad idea in Salt Lake City, Utah, you're saying to yourself. And hey, you may not be wrong. So I may get the taste of history, they call it, which is a cheese enchilada and a rolled taco and chili relleno and all kinds of tasty Mexican goodies as even slightly Americanized Mexican food is always tasty and good in my stomach. So we get now into the sports of it all. Conference tournament weekend in college basketball. It has not disappointed. The 11 a.m. to 4:30 window was absolutely wild and raucous. The Big Ten and SEC tournaments absolutely delivered today. Now, I do like talking about the smaller conferences, but I'm going to kind of leave those to the side until we get to the bubble because Zakai Ziegler and Tennessee looked like they were potentially going to blow a big lead to Auburn, but they close out, they get the win. Ziegler drops 20. Tennessee is a really interesting team. I think if they win the SEC tournament tomorrow, they do have a strong case after getting this win against Auburn and then a win against Florida tomorrow. They would have a very strong case to be considered for the last one seed. If they don't, I think that final one seed falls to Florida. I think the top 3 1 seeds are pretty much locked up. I would say it's pretty easily Auburn, Duke, and Alabama. You could flip Auburn and Duke kind of back and forth. I think Duke's a very good team. I know there were moments against North Carolina where they struggled last night, but there was also a moment where they were blowing them out by 30 in the first half. And you just kind of remembered, oh, yes, Duke has been a wagon all year long. And even without Cooper Flag, they are an extremely dangerous college basketball team. I'm a big fan of John Shire. I'm interested to see where they head in the tournament. Meanwhile, in the Big Ten, two amazing games. John Tonje drops 30 against Michigan State, gets the block shot at the end to end the game. Very tight, back and forth the whole time. An amazing game. And Wisconsin gets a win. Wisconsin, listen, I'm not confident in them come tournament time because it's Wisconsin, and I've just seen this over and over and over again throughout my time watching college basketball and just college athletics in general. Wisconsin has a way of getting to these big moments and falling apart. They haven't had a really deep run since really Frank Kaminsky, and wham, that was a long, long time ago. But that was quite the trip to the Final Four against Kentucky. Um, I am interested to see how this goes for them in March. I'll be interested to see how tomorrow goes against Michigan. Both SEC and Big Ten title games are going to be very, very entertaining, in my opinion. Michigan, Trey Donaldson goes coast to coast, hits the layup, zero point 0.1 seconds left. It's over. A 1 point win against Maryland. Maryland, a very uncharacteristic game where they got out physical. That has not been Maryland's style all year long. And Michigan just gets another impressive win. And man, what Dusty May has done in year one is really, really impressive. And if they can win the Big Ten tournament this year, I think that puts them in a really good place as a program. And they're only going to get better with the more success they have because May's a great recruiter and also just a really good basketball coach. I'm interested to see how that plays out. But tomorrow, but lines up very nice matchups throughout the day as I pull up the handy Sports Alert app, which is my go-to sports app. I'm on a third-party sports app. That's crazy, but I love it. I think it's a great app. Tomorrow it lines up for Tennessee, Florida at 11, and at 1:30 we'll see Wisconsin and Michigan. A lot of good stuff, a lot of really interesting games to look at there. The bubble, interesting. Uh, Falling through, talking through the the bubble this week as I pull up Jerry Palm's bracketology. Um, his bubble currently, as it sits right now, are the first four buys being Boise State, West Virginia, San Diego State, and Indiana. Meanwhile, the uh, bubble teams that could potentially be left out would be Baylor now kind of on the bubble, 5-12 against quad one teams. That's an interesting one. North Carolina's on the outside looking in right now. I would say they did not fare well. They've got one quad one win. They do not belong in the NCAA tournament. And neither does Texas, even though they have seven quad one wins, but they're 7-10 and they barely a few games over 500 just got the added plus of playing in the SEC, but the Mountain West could steal some bids. Currently, it is Colorado State with a lead on Boise State in that championship game. And if Colorado State wins, that means they get an automatic bid. Then what does that mean for the rest of the conference? Well, New Mexico is a really good team with a lot of quality wins, as is Utah State. I think those two teams are safe to get in the tournament. I think Boise State did a lot of damage, beating New Mexico twice down the stretch and getting a win against San Diego State. I think they're in as well, which could leave it at four Mountain West teams. But the traditional Mountain West power of San Diego State could get left out. This is something I'm really hot on right now. I think San Diego State, keep an eye on them to just flat out miss the tournament if Boise State or Colorado State wins today, because I think especially if Colorado State wins, then you easily have the four that you'll send, which will be Colorado State, New Mexico, Utah State, and Boise State. If they lose, it'll be a tight, tight race for the three. But man, Boise State feels like they've got a better resume now than San Diego State does. And it'll be interesting to see if both those teams get in. I feel like there might be a little bit of bias for bigger conferences. I know that that's my kind of belief on how the NCAA tournament kind of comes into view sometimes, but very interesting to keep an eye on that playing out in the bubble down the stretch. NHL two big games tomorrow. Mikko Rantanen returns to Ball Arena, plays the Colorado Avalanche, a preview of round one of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Really interesting game. Colorado got the win on Friday night in Calgary. That was all depth scoring. I'm just hoping the Avs really step it up and play a strong game Sunday afternoon and get a win, get themselves closer to getting home ice advantage. Winnipeg has that one spot in the Central locked up. They are a very good team. They should be in the race down the stretch here with the Washington Capitals for the President's Trophy. They're very, very good. Um, but, it's still all up for grabs for um, the second team in the division who gets home ice in that first round. Also, Rangers Oilers tomorrow night. Very interesting game. Rangers are hot right now, and the Oilers are looking to get back on track. I still think the Oilers are going to be there in the end, but they have had a slow post trade deadline kind of stretch here, and I'll be interested to see if they can string some stuff together down the stretch. Okay, that's about all the time we have for today as the timer ticks on down on the good old cell phone. So thanks for listening to 10 Minutes with Ricky J. We'll be back tomorrow with a basketball podcast, Monday with another football podcast, and Wednesday we'll go over NFC free agent moves we liked, plus all the news that you could ever need. And then it's March Madness. Hopefully I'll be back in some capacity, either via this or other things throughout March Madness to talk. I think 10 minutes with Ricky J throughout the March Madness tournament every single night. That sounds like a pretty good idea to me. Till next time. Peace out.